Alma, if you want to go to the next slide.
That goes.
Thank you. My name is Alicia Martin. I'm the Justice Involved Strategist with the CPOP team, and I'll let Alma introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I am Alma Ponce, Regional Outreach Coordinator for the Southeast region of Oregon. This includes Baker, Grant, Harney, and Malheur counties.
All right, so I know right now we have with us Beth Fischel. She's the lead for the JI processing team that processes all the 7100s and the OHP apps and all that kind of stuff. So she is here. Thank you, Beth, for being here. And it looks like we are still waiting for the GOBHI folks, Tyler Campbell and Chris Bowler. So hopefully they'll be able to join us as well. Today's learning objectives. By the end of this training, participants, you all, will be able to know the service area GOBHI NEMT provides services in, know the OHP members GOBHI NEMT provides services to, and also know how to use the NEMT ride request form from GOBHI to request a ride for OHP members being released from a jail setting. Overview for today's training, give you some background information as to why we're having this training. What is NEMT? The GOBHI service area for OHP members, how to request an NEMT ride, resources, and then of course questions at the end that you may have. Some time for that. Okay, so the background. So some months ago now, we kept hearing from assisters the barriers that individuals were being released from jail were encountering. So we worked with GOBHI and other OH partners to make a streamlined process to support you guys, the assisters, in helping individuals schedule a ride from jail to an appointment after they get released. So that's why this has come about. So what is NEMT? NEMT is non-emergent medical transportation. So OHP pays for travel you need to get to healthcare that OHP covers. That's NEMT. Can be travel to get healthcare services covered by OHP. Travel can be by taxi, bus, or local service. Can also help pay for travel costs such as gas, meals, and lodging. Is only for members with OHP Plus, and that does include the BMM, BMH, and BMD benefits. And OHP will pay your travel costs if your ride service approves them before you go to your appointment or pharmacy. Alma, do you have anything to add so far?
Not for this section.
Okay.
And just real quick, everyone, if you happen to have any questions on what any of the acronyms are that we're using, feel free to pop them into chat or just raise your hand so we can take a moment to pause and make sure that everyone has an understanding of what it is that we're showing.
Yes, thank you. So the GOBHI service area for EOCCO, here are all the counties that it serves. There's quite a few of them. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, almost looks like 14 or 15 counties. And then the GOBHI service area for OHP fee for service, so the open card. So it looks like all about the same. You'll notice that Lake County is not covered by GOBHI for open card members. So for you, the Lake County folks, that's important to remember.
And if I can just add, Alicia, so GOBHI is the brokerage in charge of managing NEMT benefits for all OHP members for these counties. It just looks slightly different, like Alicia mentioned, for those who are assigned to EOCCO versus those who have fee-for-service or open card, with Lake County being the only county not covered for fee-for-service open card members. So just want to make sure that we understand that they provide that service for all OHP members, but there are those two specific categories, CCO and open card.
Yeah, thank you, Alma. Okay, so how to request NEMT for OHP members, just generally speaking, you would call GOBHI at this number provided, and then all requests must be called into GOBHI before the appointment date. You'll notice on the right-hand side, needed information to schedule rides. So all this information is needed for to schedule that right to the medical appointment. Pretty self-explanatory. Name of the clinic, phone number, street address. So all that information, reason for the appointment.
And just to add to that, this is a process a lot of you are already familiar with. It's a standard process that we would use anytime you're reaching out to GOBHI. Things would look slightly different if you're calling in to request any mileage, reimbursement versus the ride itself, and meals, as well as travel or lodging reimbursement. So this is just the general information y'all are most likely familiar with.
Yep. Okay, so here's where we get into the meat of this. So how to request NEMT for OHP members being released from a jail. So if you know the date of release, that's a set thing. As you know, you would send in the 7100 form to the Justice Involved team at this email address, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, as soon as you know the release date. The processing team will then process that 7100 or the new app, and we'll send you a confirmation email saying that benefits will be restored on that date of release. They will not send you that confirmation email until they know that it's all clear. There won't be any hiccups in the system, that that person will have benefits on that date of release. So then you have that confirmation email, you go to the NEMT has a form that we will show you. You fill out that form, and those questions are similar to the ones that you would normally answer, and attach that confirmation email that you got from the Justice team to the NEMT form, and then you send that in. Beth, do you have anything to add to that? Or explain anything further?
I would just say that release needs to be within 30 days, which I'm sure
Okay.
you all know, but I like to hammer that in.
Mm-hmm.
Please make sure if the month has 31 days, you account for that when sending in your request. And if after a couple days, we do have issues. If after a couple days, you haven't received anything from us for a particular Oregonian, but you received some for others that you sent at the same time, feel free to reach out. I encourage my team not to send something if there's issues, because then that tends to cause anxiety and everyone starts to panic. But you're always welcome to check in with us.
And Beth, when you and I spoke about this, I remember you saying that the sooner the better, correct? So try not to wait till the last minute to send in that 7100 form.
Yeah, especially if you know someone's going to need some sort of transportation, and then, for some reason it doesn't push over to MMIS and they're releasing the next day. As soon as you have that hard and firm date, send us the form.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're having a slight issue here with Are you co-host now, Alma?
I think we're good. Yep.
Okay, cool. Anybody have questions about this so far? Send in the 7100 form, wait for that confirmation email, fill out the form from NEMT, and send them both together to GOBHI. And we'll show you what that form looks like. Example of new NEMT form for JI Sisters. So this is the form that we're talking about. Again, it has those same sort of questions. And it's pretty self-explanatory. The person's name, date of birth, prime ID number, date of requested transportation, pickup address, where are they going exactly, what's the purpose, what's the appointment time, how long will that appointment be, and then where do they get dropped off after the appointment, and then the rest of the questions.
All right, and if you give me just a moment, I'm going to share the form itself, everyone, just so you get a better view of it. I'm going to drive this just for a quick second, Alicia.
Please.
I hope everyone can see my shared screen, which should be the form. All right, perfect. So the new NEMT form is going to look very much different than the traditional GOBHI NEMT form that you would use for general NEMT requests that has like the mileage and the lodging. This one is just for transportation requests to get somewhere, because essentially this individual is being released from a jail setting. They're not likely going to be going anywhere else than to a medical appointment directly. So this form does have some information omitted from it just because it doesn't include some of those other pieces of information. If for any reason you run into a special situation where you feel that we need to make accommodations for food or lodging reimbursements using this form, we gladly accept that feedback and we can have those conversations. But essentially, for those situations, we don't see those requests. So the form, like I said, looks slightly different, as you can see on here. It has the language saying where the NEMT form needs to go, because this is a brand new email that you will be sending these specific forms to. It will not go to the traditional GOBI transportation email. This email was created to support you as a JI assister with these specific requests, because it is going to be going to a special team at GOBI that's dedicated to ensuring that these rides get scheduled accordingly and correctly. So you wouldn't call in the 1877 number and say, hey, I need to set this ride up, because you're probably going to get someone from the customer service center that's going to have no idea how to follow this process, since there is a dedicated team within GOBI that is going to be in charge of doing this. So the form, as Alicia mentioned, is going to have some general information, who the requester is, the contact phone number, this is going to be your information as a JI assister, the date of the request, the client's name, which is the OHP member, their date of birth, their OHP number, which we know is commonly referred to as prime number. This is how GOBI has it listed. The date of the request of transportation, which is the day that the ride is needed for. So say someone's being released on Tuesday and they need that ride that Tuesday, but we're submitting this the week before. This is the day of the ride itself. The address where they are needing to be picked up, this will most likely be the jail address, so making sure we have that correct. Where they're going to, so the medical office, behavioral health office, whatever office, medical office they're going to, making sure we have that name and that address correct as well. And the reason for the appointment, really explaining what the purpose of the appointment is. And then the appointment time and the length of the appointment if they are going to need transportation somewhere else. So say they have housing figured out, and they may not be staying at that location, making sure that we have the return address if they're going to be going somewhere else. If they're not going to be going anywhere else and they're going to be staying there, for example, say some individuals are needing transportation to go into an inpatient rehab after they're being released, the drop-off address wouldn't be needed.
Yep.
So here you'll clarify whether if it's a one-way trip or a two-way, meaning round trip, they're going to have to be picked up from the jail and then be taken somewhere else. I think I got ahead of myself there a little bit, but I apologize. I hope I didn't confuse anyone. Are we having any questions in the
Yeah, we
chat?
have some questions. Danielle has a really good question. What is the turnaround time? Should we be sending in this information 7 days before release, 2 days before release? In our district, the circuit will typically only give us a few days notice of our client's release date.
So great question, Danielle.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a stab at it and then I'll let Alicia chime in. So as soon as you know that somebody's being released and they're going to need that transportation, that is when this should be sent in to ensure that it gets processed accordingly. And you also have to ensure that you have that confirmation email from the JI team, which is from Beth's team, before you can send this NEMT request form, because accompanying this NEMT form needs to come that confirmation from OHA and ODHS saying, yes, that client will have benefits reinstated for that date of service. So the first step will be submitting the 7100 or the new OHP form to the JI team. The JI team will process the forms on their end, and then they should send you a confirmation giving you that green light, like, yes, we're good to go. That member will have benefits on that day of release. And then once you have that confirmation form, you do this GOBI NEMT form accompanied by that email confirmation. I'll be honest, we recognize that there are going to be times that this isn't going to work because there is such a short turnaround, and we're still trying to figure out ways to find resolutions for that. Right now, this is I'd say a step in the right direction where we're able to provide this service now and have streamlined a process to support individuals in this situation, but we're still going to run into those hiccups where we may not be able to get transportation in time because we are still missing some pieces of information. And I know GOBHI is open to handling those on a case-by-case scenario where we can speak to them. You could send an email to that email here and explain the situation, say, hey, I just found out they're being released tomorrow. I already submitted this information, and kind of navigating it that way.
And Alma, would you say that 2 days, for instance, 2 days is enough for GOBHI's side of it to schedule it right?
2 business days should be enough for GOBHI's side of it. I'm going to say business days because we know that when we run into the weekends, we're not able to we run into that weekend situation where sometimes information doesn't get processed in the manner that we want it to get done. So if you find out on a Wednesday, 2 days, and the right is needed for Friday, that is more than enough time, I'd say, for GOBHI to process it. But we also have to keep in mind that it has to be enough time for our JI team to process it.
Yeah.
So when reaching out to the JI team, using those mechanisms that we already have in place of when sending those urgent emails, sending it to the GI team, marking it urgent, making sure the subject title is calling it out, so they know that it's one of those emails that needs to be worked faster than maybe some of the other ones.
And I will say that the JI team really is pretty good about same day, next day responses. So like Beth was saying, if it is a couple days, there could be maybe there's a glitch or something, so you can reach out to them to see what's going on. Danielle, did that answer your question?
Yes, very much so. And
Okay.
I just wanted in the chat, but yeah, just even kind of a general timeline is appreciated. We work really closely with attorneys,
Yeah.
our DA and the defense attorneys, and even the court. And if we can just let them know, hey, we're scheduling this person a ride. If you can give us a couple days if it's possible, or 3 days, you know, that would be appreciated, so we can get everything lined up, just so we kind of have an idea as to how long.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, Danielle. That's a great example of having those relationships with those agencies that are giving you that firsthand information and just really, really letting them know, like, these are some of the systems that we have in place are not ideal, but this is kind of the expectation of turnaround time with them. So our ask from you would be this. And we all know it's not always going to work perfectly, but for the most part, we really want it to be a benefit to our OHP members who are in these situations and being able to access these services, which before have been nearly impossible to access because we didn't have something on the back end that supported these specific situations. And Vixen, I did see your comment about the reimbursement. So this form is really just intended for people who are needing that physical ride. So if it's somebody who is going to be doing the reimbursement process, they wouldn't necessarily need this because they're not needing that physical ride. You could still go through the traditional process, getting that information, and then when their benefits are reinstated, because for reimbursement, you have 45 days to submit confirmation that that ride was completed. So you could still call in, still send in the form, say, hey, this individual is going to be released on this date, but I'm setting up a mileage reimbursement trip, and using those mechanisms. But again, it really gives them more time to have that proof that they are needing the reimbursement, and their benefits will retro back to that effective date of them being released. But if you call it in and schedule it, I think that that's maybe something that we can also take back to the GOBHI team. And I wish they were here right now so I could like pitch it to them so I don't have to remember. But I do think that's going to require a little bit of homework on Alicia and my end to just follow up with GOBHI and say, hey, you know what, this special situation came up. But my understanding is they could still use the traditional mechanisms in place, which
I
is
think so.
They have 45 days to get that reimbursement versus someone who needs that ride that day from one of our rideshare
jail.
services. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my question, because as you know, Wallowa County, our inmates go to Union County. And so if they get released in Union County, they often don't have a ride back here. And we don't have, and it's so many reasons why. I mean, one, we don't have enough drivers. Two, it's just our justice system doesn't bring them back. They leave them there, they get out in Union County. So my question, I guess, is if Center for Wellness, which they have taken it upon themselves to be really good about this, if Center for Wellness, we know that we're going to have one of our community members get released, Center for Wellness will make a point to be over there to pick them up, and then they bring them back, so that, because often it's court ordered that they also first check in is at Center for Wellness. This is not the form we would fill out for that. Could we still use, could we use the other form and allow that to be reimbursed to something? I don't know.
So if a family member is going to be the one picking them up and taking them to their first medical appointment upon release, I believe they would still follow the traditional mechanisms in place for that, but let us get back to you. That's one of
Yeah.
those questions I want to put in it because I want to make sure I'm giving you the right guidance, but I'll double check with Gobi because the intention for this new form is just to schedule a physical ride through Gobi to
Mhm.
have
Okay.
to have that transportation because we know folks who don't have family, who don't have a support system in place who could pick them up at a jail and they're just left in limbo and trying to figure out how to get to their intake appointment somewhere or their check-in appointment at the medical facility. And this is the resolution that we were able to come up with from now until things change again with access to OHP for these individuals.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I've made note of that, Alma, to ask.
Okay, perfect. I don't see any more questions, but yep, the form also at the end, just really quick, finish looking at it, has some of those accessibility questions, asking if the individual walks, if they have a walker or a wheelchair, service animal, or if they're going to have somebody with them. We still have some of those accessibility questions there. And feedback on this form is greatly appreciated. If you feel that we missed something, especially since you guys are the ones working firsthand with individuals being released from jail, please feel free to share back with us. We will send a copy of the form for all of you to access it, look at it, and have on hand. So the sooner we can get that feedback would be appreciated. So then we could work directly with the Gobi team to make those changes as soon as possible. So you guys have I'd say the right form with the right questions available as soon as possible. All right, going back to the slide deck, let me find my tool. I apologize. I'm on my laptop only, so I don't have my dual screens today, everyone.
That we get so used to those dual screens.
Yes. All right, did I skip? Okay, so I will let you take it away, Alicia.
Okay, so resources for the Gobi website. Here it is. And Alma, how people will have access to the slide deck to get this website?
Yeah, we will send a copy of the slide deck to all of the participants that registered for the training and also post to group site.
Okay, perfect. NEMT free ride in English and Spanish and the social media toolkit there. If you're interested in attending the JI collaboratives, which I hope you are, they're once a quarter. Our next one is in April. Let me know. You can put it in the chat and I'll make sure I send you the Zoom invite for that. And with the JI collaboratives, we always give the general OHP updates, OHA updates that the regional collaboratives do. And then on top of that, we'll focus on just JI related topics. Okay, we had an ask from our colleague Deanna Simon. Have you used the new CP only phone line? And if so, how is it working? Can you give us kind of specific examples of how it's helping you or not? How is it impacting your ability to help folks?
Oh, let me go. Let me
Go,
go.
Vixen, go. I'm writing notes. Go ahead.
It is the greatest thing ever. Like next to chocolate and sliced bread and all of those things.
Can you tell me how?
Well, for one, you're not on hold forever.
Mm-hmm.
2, the people on the phone know what they're doing.
Oh.
3, they will call you back if you can't get something timely, i.e. when we just started this. I have been trying to get attached to 2 cases for a month now, and they're like, we can't find it. They call you back and they're like, we're still working on this.
Okay,
like,
so the follow through is really good. It sounds like
oh my God, it's wonderful.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
Like if seriously the greatest thing ever for us. Like the other day, I'm like, oh, this case is kind of catchy. I'm not sure what to do. But to know I could literally call them and say, hey, I have this community member coming in. This is what I'm seeing in the case, but I can't go into one because it won't let me do this. And they're like, oh, do this and then email it to us and make sure you put this exact thing in it and we'll get it done. And literally it gets done. It is
That's really good to hear.
I could feel your excitement.
Yeah,
You're making me
definitely.
feel excited, Vixen.
You have no idea. Like it was literally like I can't even tell you. Like I used to just dread. I'm like, oh, this one's going to be a tough case. And oh no, yeah, it's great. It's just thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. And all of you guys for never mad at us for complaining for all this time and being, advocates for us doing our work because thank you. I just thank
Say
you.
it's
Thank you.
making it so much easier to deal with some of the cases that have hiccups and getting clients connected to their Medicaid sooner than later.
Yep. The only glitch I'm having right now, and I've sent to Rosie, is we're still having this prescription
Yes, we're
glitch.
working on that one.
And yeah, I
Rosie's-
don't
yeah,
know.
we'll get that one figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's I'm like, why do one thing's literally if one thing goes well,
Right.
it seems like something has to glitch. I was like, come on, we just had everything going so well.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's great. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Anyone else have any feedback regarding the new CP phone line? I'm so glad it's back. We had it back in the day when I first started, and then it didn't happen, and I was like devastated. I'm calling Deanna. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm glad it's back for you guys too. Okay. Thank you, Vixen, so much. Appreciate that. Any other questions regarding this new process to schedule the rides, the NEMT rides? Again, like Alma was saying, we were hearing feedback that was difficult to schedule rides when someone was still in jail and their benefits were suspended. And, GOBHI needs to know that they're going to have benefits. So this is our workaround. And if you're using it and it seems to work, I would love to hear that feedback as well. Or if it's not working or if there's other glitches involved, Alma and I would love to hear that feedback also. So please don't hesitate to let us know. Oh, thanks, Danielle. Just can't wait to start using this. Yeah, let us know for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to add a little bit to that. A lot of work went into in the conversations to leading up to this. So we really did hear the feedback from all of our partners here in the Eastern Oregon region who use GOBHI for NEMT services. So we really want to make sure that the system that we created is working. So any feedback about how it's working, whether if it's working well, if maybe something could be slightly changed, maybe on the turnaround times of what you're hearing from GOBHI, anything is highly encouraged to be reported back to Alicia and myself, just so we can really keep this process alive and make those changes in real time as we see them needed for this specific population of folks. Because again, it is just temporary, and we are the only region actually the only CCO that is implementing something like this right now for this population of folks. So we're hoping that our other partnering CCOs throughout the state see that it works, and what we have in place is a mechanism to support these members statewide versus just with GOBHI.
Yeah.
And Danielle, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think this is a great idea, especially for our eastern counties where, like Vixen said, sometimes the jail's not in the county that the client is in. And we have staff sometimes that are available to go pick them up, and sometimes we don't. And I think that creates a large barrier in getting them to our places so they can set up appointments. If we don't go and pick them up or they don't have a ride there, they're gonna find their own way, and it's probably not gonna be to our offices to make appointments.
They get lost along the way sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're even talking today about getting medications and getting folks that all lined out too. So I'm hoping that in the future we can kind of streamline that along with this kind of transportation idea like that.
Yeah, and even with the medication piece too, I'm hoping, when the Medicaid waiver kicks in, that will alleviate a lot of this. So at least this is some sort of workaround until that happens.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
even-
please let us know.
definitely. Yeah, and even just
Okay.
like to the pharmacy too. So hopefully maybe in the future that'll kind of be a part of that.
Mhm.
'Cause I know it's hard for people to get there. They
Yeah.
might have the insurance and have the prescriptions that are waiting, but just don't have a way to get there.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
thanks.
For
I'll let
sure.
you guys know how it works.
Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate that.
All right. Any other
Okay.
questions from anyone before we give you back, I'd say about 15 minutes back of your day or 20?
And thank you for your patience earlier too. And thank you, Beth, for being here as well.
Thank
No
you
problem.
guys for always being there as our rocks and, our justice involved, and keeping us informed and allowing us to have you guys as our sounding boards and our safe spaces, and are helping listen to what's actually happening on boots on the ground. Because like Danielle says, it's, these rural communities are like, when we sit in the justice involved, sometimes I'm like, man, I would give anything to live in a bigger area where I could have some of the access to services and stuff that happens. And our new sheriff in our county has come from a big county, and he's been able to share things why it's less challenging in the bigger counties and the bigger budgets, for things like medical care, and why when we say, like, our county, if somebody gets hurt when they're in our custody, we can't afford it, and what that looks like differently dynamically from the justice side of them, and the DAs and stuff. And it's just, I've learned so much, but I've learned so much because you guys have cultured that so that we can, like, you've cultivated our ability to not just go, okay, this is what we have to take, this is how it happens. You guys have helped us be able to feel like we can improve things always, and you guys are always giving to us for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Vixen, for that feedback. That means a lot.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our training for today, everyone. Thank you for taking time to join. Alicia and I will work on a follow-up email that will contain a copy of the slide deck, the form for all of you to review. And once we collect some of your feedback from the form, we will double check with GOBHI, ensure that it's finalized. If there's any suggested changes that we discuss, we should move forward with making. So stay tuned for more. But you should be good to go to start this process. After receiving the training today. So we'll try to get this material out to you as soon as possible. I saw Rosie pop in the email and it looked correct to me, but let me double check. Let me go back real quick. NEMT request at gobhi.org. Yep. So if you want to, feel free and copy and paste that and save it. Go ahead and do so until we could get this material out to you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
Bye, everyone.